Just a friendly reminder that this video will contain both minor and major spoilers at multiple portions, as well as video content featuring that. You have been warned. Holy shit, this is so peak!
This is what happens when I let them show. These are my emotions. Terrible.
Telekinetic helix!
Look what you've done. This is the first time this has happened while I'm still conscious. Can you feel it? Rage burning in me.
God, I love this show. Never have I ever loved my main character being undeniably stronger than everyone else around him. The show is so fucking good. I actually rewatched it like twice over these years. This show had me rethinking what makes good characters in like any show. You ever watch a show or a movie and you know there's gonna be like this crash out point for the protagonist. You're just sort of waiting for that point to happen, probably towards the end of the season. For this show, I live for that portion. I need that crash out. And good for me because it's built into the power scaling and the story multiple times. This show's so peak, I decided to make a video on it. Yes, I will praise it. Yes, it will be extremely biased, but I will try to be as rational as I can. So, let's get to the facts section first. Okay, now we're in the facts section. Mob Psycho 100 was originally created by One. You know that same guy who made One Punch Man? This is so goddamn based. And the manga was originally published in April 18, 2012, which is something I didn't read because I didn't even know it existed. But I did watch the show, and I can say that it was originally released on July 11, 2016 on Crunchyroll, which I started following up watching not too long after that. They released the final season in October of 2022, which is when my life started getting a little bit better because I got to finish the final season. From this, they won a few awards, and I know the last video I said I hate awards and critics' opinions, but I'm gonna let a dude admire. They won 13 awards and over 40 nominations, which probably means the show at least did a half-decent job. It was at least a little good, maybe even based in my eyes.
Okay, now on to the soundtrack section. Soundtrack's great. I love it. I feel like that most people have no gripes with the opening and ending soundtracks, and I think that's a good start. Bear in mind that the original soundtrack was actually made by Kenji Kawai, who composed works for Ghost in the Shell, Fate's Stay Night, World Trigger, and others. I have not seen any of these, but apparently he's a big name in the music world, as I've come to find out. But the actual openings and performance was done by Mob Choir, which is a special project for the anime itself. The lead vocalist being Sana, or 37, who is a vocalist in the band Sojo no Hana. Personally, the song 99 is always going to be my favorite, because I feel like the song kind of just sets the tone for like the entire show, and how the main protagonist feels and, you know, what he believes in. And to quote one of the songs, if everyone is not special, maybe you can be what you want to be. Okay, now we're on to the animation section. Animation is done by Studio Bones, so they have a really good track record. And they also did a really good job at emulating the manga style for this. Here I'm going to show up just one example of the manga versus the anime. Maybe I chose a bad one, don't care. The animation is known for its simplicity with character designs, with fight scenes using higher frame rates and more freedom for smooth movement. Psychic powers often have extract visuals, while more comedic scenes use very simple drawing, pixel art, and other various tricks to really show you that's a little more down to earth in those moments. And here I'll show just an example of goofiness versus actual cool fight. I love the animation. They really stand out a lot from other anime in their genre. You can just tell by watching. It's very different. It's not the in your face, cute girl type shit. It's more like a, hey, this is very similar to One Punch Man, and also the fight scenes are kick-ass. And you really get a whole package from watching this, aside from that. Although each character does have a very unique look, it's usually from their comedic traits that make them look so eccentric, because most of the facial expressions are actually pretty consistent and bare and plain, unless maybe they're extremely angry. And our main character is obviously very, very emotionless most of the time. I'd also like to point out that I got some of this information online because I don't know animation techniques. Okay, let's go through the plot. What makes this plot so juicy? The story of Mob Psycho 100 follows Shigeo Kagayama, often referred to as Mob. Mob is an extremely talented and powerful Esper, and also a middle school student if you're caring about that. After an event involving his brother Ritsu, Mob no longer expresses his emotions or psychic powers, making him appear very boring and emotionless, and he suppresses everything. Mob's ultimate goal being to confess his feelings to a girl named Tsubomi and improve his other skills like strength and communication. He eventually meets Reigen Arataka, a con man who tries to push Mob on the right path initially, only to figure that he actually has psychic powers and proceeds to hire and uses his abilities for exorcism under the guise of his master, but ultimately offering very important mentorship throughout the series. I'm going to cut this part up into segments because I want to do one for each season without giving too much away. We're introduced to Mob obviously in the first season. We're introduced to Reigen, Dimple, Taruki Hanazawa, and some other characters who are going to be very important moving forward. Mob initially is very obviously introverted and not expressing his emotion, and it's very clear that he wants to impress his crush Tsubomi, and this is going to be his main motivation moving forward as he joins the Body Improvement Club. He works with Arataka Reigen. He's always trying to work on his communication skills, and there are just some other arcs to the points of the show, like his brother feeling inferior to him even though he's really smart and strong and popular despite him not having psychic powers, which there's a whole arc about that as well. And then he obviously stops Dimple and his cult group, and then we obviously have the introduction to Claw, which is a terrorist organization of Espers that are trying to take over the world, which Mob had to interfere with. I don't want to go into any more detail than that. As for the second season of the show, we see a lot of Mob just continue doing self-improvement, but along the way, Reigen and him take up some urban legend jobs, and then afterward they get involved with a man named Keiji Mogami who's trapped inside a girl or possessing her, and then a whole scene of them fighting over their ideals as Mob enters the body to try and save the girl. This is just a great arc of character development, seeing how Mob handles a difficult situation. After their ways, there's this whole arc about Reigen and him separating, and then Reigen figuring out who he is and realizing he's not good enough without Mob, and their relationship continuing to develop. I'm not going to say much about that one. And then the latter half of the season is about Claw and their leader rising to power and trying to finally take over the world, and then a bunch of fight scenes and cool characters. And anyway, watch it for yourself. Now, I wanted to do a Season 3 portion for the video, but I honestly think it's a better idea just to kind of let you guys figure that one out. Let you enjoy the show as it is. I won't give you any clues. Just enjoy the first 2 seasons of content I'm willing to provide very subtle context for, and then try to enjoy the third one. Because I'd rather talk about the themes for this section, which there's a lot of good themes for the show. Self-acceptance, power and responsibility, the value of mentorship and individuality, having good connection to others and the strength it provides you, the differences between growth versus talent, you know, overcoming one's differences and all that good stuff. And it's just so great. It's just amazing. I love it. Now, usually I would say that it's more appropriate to stick with my standard video essay format as per usual. I'm throwing that away because I'm unequivocally biased for this show. The psychic battle scenes are great. The characters are great. The story is great. The animation is great. One time a man tried to tell me the show was mid. To this day, that man in my eyes is a lesser being. He just doesn't understand peak when he sees it. And my favorite part of this show was probably the 100% gratitude scene in Season 1. You probably noticed it a bit at the beginning of the video, some of the scenes. I just love this scene just because it's so funny, and it's also a very clever compromise to an extremely tense situation. And by the end of it, Reigen had them questioning life after a very low diff encounter, because he basically said they're all just man children, need to get a job despite their psychic abilities. Honestly, peak incarnate. Honestly, it's really hard for me to try and sit here and tell you why this show is just so amazing. So I decided I'm gonna do this. Insert battle scenes.
impulses. Now you're going to have to deal with them. Oh, no!
This is...
You took the job. And you want 20,000 yen if you succeed?
Now, I know I've been a little goofy this entire video, but for my final concluding thoughts about what this series actually means to me, I'd like to get a little more serious, because this show makes you think. It makes you more accepting, I suppose. It invokes a feeling of joy that can only be accomplished when you really look at it as a whole. When you empathize with our characters as they struggle to accept parts of themselves that they wouldn't normally accept. When they realize that they didn't need to rely on anything that inherently made them special, but rely on the things that make life worth living. It wasn't about the powers that a lot of them let them go to their head. It was about friendship and families they had, the love they had for each other, and everything they learned along the way. The show invokes a sense of relief almost, because I think a lot of us may struggle to go our entire lives looking for something that makes us special, or knowing what makes us special, but relying on it so heavily, and when it fails we crumble. But I think this show teaches to remind us that it really didn't matter in the first place. What mattered more are who was by us, who was there when we were down, and even when we fall apart due to whatever reason, our failures, our attempts even, and maybe even when we do succeed, we don't feel the same level of joy as we thought we did. I think the show kind of teaches the feeling of maybe we just all be a little bit more happy if we had those people next to us, and we had our connections with them, and we were growing in other ways other than the ways we relied on. Being an individual was always more about growing and maybe the love we all had for each other anyway. And I think that makes this show abundantly more beautiful than a lot of other shows I've seen. And don't get me wrong, everything about it I enjoy. I've already discussed in my geek out section. But to conclude, if you really dig in between the lines, this show's message about personal growth and what's really important can really hit deep and really be applied to each one of our lives as we move forward through this interesting cascade of events that is thrown onto us. Even though none of us personally have psychic powers, I think we all have something that we can replace in there too, to really think about it. I didn't have a quote for this one like I did in my last video. I just have a message that I hope all of you find the people in your life that are worth having, and I hope you cherish them deeply, and I hope your lives move forward in the same way Mob did. Have a good night.